All right, I'm not even going to do the countdown. Let's get right to it. Texas 79, Kansas 76. The Longhorns with their biggest win of the Chris Beard era as Texas knocks off the top-ranked team in the Big 12. Massive win for the Longhorns, who remain dominant at the Erwin Center. Texas now 15-1 at home this season, but the win tonight, far and away the biggest of the year for the Longhorns. What a job by Chris Beard and company. A lot of love and praise to throw around. Timmy Allen, magnificent. That's the Timmy Allen that Texas needs if it's going to make a deep tournament run. That's the all Pac-12 player that Texas thought it was getting when they landed Timmy Allen in the transfer portal this past offseason. 24 points, 9 boards for him. It was a very efficient 24 as well. Timmy Allen, 11 of 17 from the floor. Big buckets, timely buckets. Unbelievable performance for Timmy Allen, who really struggled in the loss in Lubbock last Tuesday. It almost feels like this Texas team goes as Timmy Allen goes, man. You usually don't say that about a wing type of player, but Timmy Allen, the most important player on this Texas basketball team. He's the facilitator. He's not technically a point guard, but he's pretty much the point guard for this Longhorn squad. And if he facilitates and does what he did tonight, Texas can hang with just about anybody in the country. And a lot of people gave Chris Beard some flack over the weekend. You know, after the Iowa State game, Chris Beard was talking about how Texas could hang with any team in the country. And a lot of people were like, dude, you beat Iowa State. Iowa State's not that good. They're 3-7 in the Big 12. Come on now. Well, Chris Beard might have been right. He might have been on to something. If Texas plays like they did tonight, they can hang with just about anybody in the country. And Kansas is a damn good team. Kansas just smoked Baylor over the weekend. And once again, Kansas was 8-1 in conference play. Coming into tonight, their only loss was in Lubbock against Texas Tech. They've beaten everybody else they played in this league. They've been really good in Big 12 play, and Texas found a way to knock them off tonight, thanks in large part to Timmy Allen. Got to give some love to Trey Mitchell, who hit the luckiest, craziest, timeliest shot of the evening. Texas was down 4 with a minute to go. Didn't look great. Ochai Agbaji just had that offensive rebound put back to put the Jayhawks up by 4. Kind of felt like at that moment the game was over, but Trey Mitchell, somehow, some way, I mean, he was horrendous from beyond the arc. He was 0 for 5 from 3 before he banked that last one in, but I don't care about the first 5 because that last one went in. Somehow, some way, banked it home. I was mad. I was yelling at the TV every time Trey Mitchell took a 3. I know he was open for most of them, but Trey, you're open for a reason, dude. Kansas wants you to take that shot. And that 3 that banked in was ugly off the hand. It never looked good, but the basketball gods were on Texas's side tonight. The bank is open at the Erwin Center Monday, a little after 10 o'clock. Trey Mitchell, I'll give him love. 17 points. Most of it came at the free throw line. Most of those came in the first half. He was an important spark offensively for Texas early on, and obviously the huge 3 to turn that 4-point deficit into a 1-point deficit, and some big stops by Texas, too, defensively. Kansas is one of the best offensive teams in college basketball. Chris Beard, I'm sure, would have liked to have kept Kansas below 76 points, but Kansas is really, really efficient and good offensively. For Texas to get those stops in the final minute defensively, absolutely massive. I got to give some love to Courtney Ramey, who didn't do a whole lot offensively. 7 points, 3 of 8 shooting, 0 for 2 from beyond the arc. His defense on Ochai Agbaji, the difference in tonight's game, especially on that last, I should say second to last offensive possession that Kansas had, where they were down by 1. The Jayhawks wanted to get the ball to Agbaji, and Courtney Ramey just didn't let it happen. Face guarding Ochai Agbaji all night long. And Fanatic Perspective, Steven, who's got a great YouTube channel. Make sure y'all subscribe to him if you haven't done that yet. We talked about it before the game. We did a live pregame video, and he asked me, how do you defend Ochai Agbaji? And I said, face guard him. Don't let him get the ball. Don't let him get the ball. Easier said than done. Courtney Ramey made it happen tonight. He got it done this evening, and he got it done in the most important moment for Texas. So not a super impressive box score night for Courtney Ramey, but his defense on Ochai Agbaji, phenomenal, and a huge reason why Texas got it done. Very impressive win for the Longhorns. Keep the comments coming. I'll check these out here in a second. Appreciate you guys stopping by. We're celebrating a 79-76 win for Texas. Biggest win of the season for UT. which means the biggest win of the Chris Beard era for UT. About 4 straight wins for Texas over Kansas. I'll say 3.5. They swept KU last year, and they got a forfeit win in the Big 12 tournament because Kansas had COVID issues in the semifinal round of the conference tournament in Kansas City last year. So technically that counts as a win. So according to the record books, it's 4 straight wins for the Longhorns over KU. Really 3 straight wins for Texas over Kansas, and that's impressive, man. A big-time win for the Longhorns tonight, defending their home floor, and, man, they needed it. How about Texas getting it done, shooting 3 of 20 from downtown? If you told anybody before the game tonight that Texas was going to go 3 for 20 from deep, that's 15%. I would have told you they had no chance. I would have told you they got blown out, let alone found a way to beat Kansas. 3 of 20, but because of the grit, because of getting to the free throw line, how efficient they were down low, they get the win against a very, very good Kansas team. All right, let's check some of the comments, guys. Appreciate the love. Appreciate the love. Thanks to everybody for stopping by. Please like this video if you can. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't done that yet. Tap the notification bell, too, so you're always informed whenever I release new content. Yeah, Courtney Ramey locked it down. Absolutely, CB. His defense, the difference maker. Ochai Agbaji, the best player in this conference, averages about 21 a game, and he was held in check. He didn't get to double figures until that tip-in he had with a minute to go. I got him to 11 points, and that was it for the conference's best player. Courtney Ramey, once again, not a spectacular night on the stat sheet, but his defense, paramount for Texas getting it done. Man, a lot of y'all told me last week that Chris Beard sucked. He couldn't get it done. Shaka was better. He's Tom Herman 2.0. Tom Herman. I mean, come on now. Those takes were insane, ridiculous. Everybody was – look, I'm glad Texas basketball fans are passionate now because it's felt like there's been an apathy towards the program over the last decade or so, but people closing the book on Chris Beard midway through a relatively successful first season. I mean, Texas was ranked. Texas was 16-6 when everybody was dunking on Chris Beard and saying, oh, I don't know if he's the guy. I'm getting Tom Herman vibes. I don't know if he's the man for the job. Did we make a mistake? Come on now. Those comments were ridiculous at the time. And how did Chris Beard respond to them? A blowout win over Iowa State and then a win over the best team in the conference in Kansas tonight. Miss me with that. You guys trying to fire everybody in Austin. Crazy, crazy. Spectacular game. I don't care who you were rooting for. If you weren't rooting for Texas or Kansas, if you were just taking in Big Monday, that was awesome. Back and forth. And it wasn't a normal Texas basketball game where you had long stretches of offensive incompetence. Both teams efficient offensively. High-scoring game, especially by Texas's standards. And just back and forth. I mean, spectacular theater for 40 minutes tonight. Unbelievable game. Much fun to watch, and obviously a lot more fun when your team walks away from the game with the W. Appreciate all you guys stopping by. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you for the kind words. How do I feel about the fans storming the court? I'm glad you asked, Erickson. I hate it. I'm a court storm snob. One of my friends texted me that after the game because I'm in a group chat with some other Texas grads, and they were all saying how they were jealous that Texas stormed the court. I'm like, that's lame. At a place like Texas, I don't think you should ever storm the court. I mean, Texas opened up as a favorite against Kansas in this game. I know Kansas closed the favorite. Look, like my thought is if you go to a place like Texas, you should never storm the court. These wins should be expected. They should be expected. And I know basketball is not as big here as it is at Kansas or Duke or North Carolina or Gonzaga or a lot of other programs across the country. But I want these wins to be the norm, not a surprise. So I don't love court stormings at Texas. Like Texas football never rushes the field. Texas baseball doesn't dogpile until they win the national championship. I know Texas basketball doesn't have the history or pageantry that those other two programs have, but come on, man. I didn't love it. Happy for the kids, I guess. Happy for the students. Great crowd tonight. Shout out to everybody who went to the Erwin Center. 15-1, man. People give the flan a lot of crap, but fans have showed up. They've showed out, and Texas is 15-1 at home this season. They only lost to K-State, just a stinker. Texas was in control for a lot of that game, too, and just completely melted down the stretch. But 15-1, the Longhorns are at home, and that was arguably their toughest home game of the season. and they found a way to get it done. So I don't love the court storming. I might be in the minority here. Maybe I'm overrating Texas basketball, whatever, but not my cup of tea. Now, saying that, if I was a student, I would have been at the game, and I probably would have rushed the floor with everybody else. I wouldn't have been the first one on there, though. Michael Portman, what's up, man? Thoughts on the foul calls on both sides? Yeah, this was a physical game both ways. I mean, when you go up against a Chris Beard team, there's going to be some physicality. When you go up against a Bill Self team, there's going to be some physicality. I think that was to be expected. And in the first half, they were calling everything both ways. Like, they were calling too much in the first 20 minutes. And then for like the first 12 or so minutes of the second half, they just like weren't calling anything. I mean, guys were getting clobbered on both ends. And it was like, all right, what are we doing here? You heard Jay Billis on the broadcast saying, like, we got to call something. Like, it was weird how the refs kind of swallowed their whistle for like a 12 to 15-minute stretch in the second half. So you could definitely argue that there weren't enough calls either way. I think in the first half, you could have argued that there were too many calls both ways. So a tough game to officiate. The officials could have done a better job. They could always do a better job. Welcome to life in the Big 12. It's not just a basketball thing. If you follow this conference, you know how bad Big 12 refs are in any sport. So you could be critical of the calls for sure. From a Kansas side of things, Michael, I know you're a KU grad. Like, missing 5 free throws down the stretch was massive. Like, that kept Texas in the game, right? KU missed their final 5 free throws of the ball game. One possession game, those missed opportunities were costly for Kansas. Credit Texas for taking advantage. Yeah, George, it's a weird feeling watching Texas go 3 of 20 from downtown and actually winning. Because, yeah, with Shaka Smart as the head coach, that's not a game that Texas wins. And that's obviously not a good recipe for success. You don't want to be shooting 15% from downtown night in and night out. You're not going to win too many games like that. But Texas was able to get to the line a lot. They were able to make their free throws for the most part. They were able to create turnovers and turn those turnovers into points on the other end. That's where Texas got its offense tonight. It wasn't from the 3-ball. I can't believe that Texas only made 3 threes and beat Kansas at home. It's a good Kansas team, too. Appreciate the love. Keep the comments coming, guys. I'm scrolling through from the top. I should probably work backwards. Does Texas get its first win in the tourney since the Rick Barnes era? It's too early to tell. I mean, it feels like this team has a shot. When you beat Kansas, who I think has the chance to make a deep, deep run come March, then, yeah, it feels like you can beat just about anybody in the tournament. And going into tonight's game, Joe Lenardi had Texas as a 6 seed in the tournament. I think they might be a 5 after this one. And look, if Texas loses out, if Texas completely melts down the stretch, then we're going to have the bubble conversation again. But right now, Texas is safely in the tournament, and a win like tonight is not, oh, that got Texas in the tournament. No, a win like tonight was, hey, that's going to improve Texas's seed line on Selection Sunday. So massive win. So as of right now, Texas is a 5-6 seed, maybe a 4 seed. Might be a little bit of a stretch. Maybe the overreaction crowd, the recency bias crowd bumps Texas to a 4 if there's some bracketology between now and the weekend. So Texas will be favored in their first tournament game. Of course, a lot of basketball left to be played. So we'll see how that changes. But, yeah, a lot to like about this Texas basketball team. A massive win. Once again, if you could beat Kansas, you can hang with most teams in the country. You sure as hell can hang with a lower-seeded team, which is who Texas is likely to face in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So I hope so, man. It's been way too long since we've been treated to an NCAA tournament win. That's the main reason why Texas got rid of Shaka Smart and brought in Chris Beard. Shaka Smart, 6 years in Austin, 0 tournament wins. Chris Beard had a bunch of tournament success at Texas Tech. Also pulled off a 12-5 upset at Little Rock in his 1 year there before he went to Lubbock. That's why Texas made the move to go get Chris Beard for success in March. I mean, success all year round, of course, but most important month of the college basketball season without question is March. Chris Beard has had a lot of success in that month. Shaka Smart at Texas, not so much. We only have 1 road game on the road. Did I say something stupid, Jonathan? I'm going to screw something up. It's getting late, and I'm excited. We'll roll for a little bit. Got a lot of y'all watching. Appreciate the love, man. Keep the comments coming. Keep the questions coming. Yeah, absolutely, Royal Blue Cougs. Love Timmy Allen's aggression in the mid-range. He's one of the best mid-range players in college basketball, and he is so important to this Texas offense. just creating that extra dynamic of a mid-range game for Texas. Not a lot of teams have that in today's basketball. Timmy Allen provides that mid-range game, and man, he's such a good facilitator too. If teams double him, he's going to make the right pass. He's also great without the ball as well. A fantastic cutter. We saw that a lot on Saturday against Iowa State. Timmy Allen, love his game. Kind of an old man's game. You know, it's weird. He's like 6'4", 6'5", and he almost plays like a big, but he also is sort of the de facto point guard for this team. He's just weird. It doesn't feel like his game fits his body, but he's found a way to make it work. First team All Pac-12 at Utah last year, and he has been really, really good for Texas this season. And Texas seemingly goes as he goes. I feel like I've said that a few times during the broadcast tonight, but it's true, and you saw that on full display this evening. Appreciate you stopping by, Michael. Yeah, Kansas will be fine. The Jayhawks still have a game lead over Texas Tech and Baylor in the conference right now, but that would have been a big one for Kansas, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, Texas needs to get better at rebounding. I don't know. Texas out-rebounded Kansas tonight. Like, look, Texas isn't a great rebounding team. They don't have that super above-the-rim player. They don't have a Jericho Sims or a Kai Jones who can just sky over everybody to get any rebound at any time. But I didn't think rebounding was that bad tonight. Kansas is aggressive, man. McCormick can rebound. Christian Brown, one of the best rebounding wings in all of college basketball. Like to win the rebounding battle against Kansas, not an easy feat. So I don't think the rebounding was too much of an issue tonight. Texas demolished Kansas last year and immediately lost. Yeah, look, it doesn't get any easier for the Longhorns, right? They go to Waco this weekend to take on Baylor, who is tied for second in the conference. And Baylor's a top 10 team in college basketball. And the Bears have owned Texas in recent years. So, like, it doesn't get any easier for Texas. But the Longhorns are now 4 games into this 5-game gauntlet against ranked teams. You could argue every night in the Big 12 is a gauntlet. But Texas had 5 games in a row against ranked opponents, starting with the Big 12 SEC Challenge against Tennessee. I said if the Longhorns got to 3 wins, I'd be thrilled. They're 3-1. They've got an opportunity to get to 4 if they could spring the upset in Waco this weekend. So I would have been thrilled with 3-2 going into this stretch. At worst, Texas will be 3-2 over this 5-game stretch. So loved it. Felt like they needed to win the Tennessee game. Felt like they needed to win the Iowa State game to get to 3-2. The question was which of at Texas Tech, home against Kansas, and at Baylor they could get to get that 3rd win. They got the one tonight against Kansas. Of course, I still want to win at the Farrell Center on Saturday. That goes without saying. But to get this win tonight, far and away the most impressive win of the year for the Longhorns in the eyes of me, in the eyes of the tournament committee, in the eyes of everybody. To get this one, massive, 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 massive. So it doesn't get a whole lot easier for Texas after Baylor this weekend. They've got a trip to Norman next Tuesday. Oklahoma right now is probably not in the tournament. I guess it depends on who you ask, but they've fallen on some tough times lately. And then after that, Texas Tech comes to town. So once again, life in the Big 12. Not a lot of easy games for the Longhorns the rest of the way. But this 5-game gauntlet against ranked teams, they're 3-1. Once again, at worst, they'll be 3-2 in this stretch. I think most rational Texas fan would have signed up for that in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. All right, keep the comments going. What's my view on Askew? Yeah, look, Devin Askew he's a polarizing player, and rightfully so. He can't shoot, and he won't shoot. I think he's a better shooter than he gives himself credit for. Like, he had a couple of very short-range opportunities tonight that he just passed up, which is very frustrating because you feel like he can make those shots. One of them was a layup in transition. Now, on that play, he pulled it back out and then found Timmy Allen, who was cutting, and Timmy Allen ended up getting an and one. So turned into a 3-point play, which is better than the layup Devin Askew could have had. But still, like, fast break 3-on-2, you want Devin Askew taking that layup right there. He just doesn't have a lot of confidence shooting the ball right now. That's not what he's asked to do. So, look, I understand. Like, I want players who could shoot. It's frustrating having guys on the floor who can't shoot. I got times when you've got Askew and Cunningham out there at the same time. It's like, is this really what we should be doing right now? I know both of those guys have value. They both are assets to the team in different ways, but it's like having a few guys on the floor who can't shoot with an offense that already isn't great feels like a bad recipe. So Askew's impressed me more over the last couple of games, tonight notwithstanding. He's a good facilitator. When he penetrates, when he drives and kicks, I think he makes things happen for Texas. But he's not. He's far from a perfect player. And he's far from a finished product, too. I mean, this guy should be a true freshman. Like, he reclassified, so he played last year at Kentucky, but really age-wise, he's a true freshman. So to play point guard in this league as a freshman, not an easy thing to do. So there will be growing pains for sure with Devin Askew, and he's going to get a lot better over the course of his Texas career than he is right now. Appreciate you stopping by, Michael. Hope you're doing well, brother. Jake Gasman, appreciate you stopping by too. My co-host on the Wheelhouse, ESPN Houston. Weekdays from 3 to 7, ESPN975.com if you want to check that out. Spend a lot of time talking about the Texans. We won't talk about that here. That's too depressing. We're all happy. We're all excited with Texas's win tonight. We don't need to talk about the freaking Houston Texans. Goodness gracious. Oh, man. All right, keep the comments coming, guys. Appreciate the love. Appreciate the love. Hope you guys are all having a great night. How can you not be? After that win. I had Taco Bell, too, for dinner. It was awesome. Perfect night for me. Love that. I'm with you, Vicente. I would love to beat Texas Tech at home. I wanted that game in Lubbock badly, but I sure as hell want to get this one in Austin. And you know Chris Beard doesn't want to get swept by Texas Tech in his first year in Austin either. So that's a week from Saturday. I think I'm going to be at that game at the Flan. Curious how many Texas Tech fans will be joining me. I'm worried about the crowd for that one. It'll be a packed house without question, but there will be a lot of red and black, methinks, in the stands at the Flan next Saturday. But yeah, I'd love to get that one. And that'd be another huge resume-boosting win because Texas Tech is currently number 9 in the country. So it'd be another big one for Texas. Chance to defend home floor. Yeah, I'm with you, Seth. We talked about Trey Mitchell earlier. Man, Trey Mitchell, had a very good game tonight. Hit the biggest shot of the evening with that banked-in 3. That was the only 3 that he made. He was 1 of 6 from downtown, and I'm with you. There's a reason why Kansas was leaving him open. I feel like Chris Beard has already had the conversation with Trey Mitchell about shooting threes. I hope he has it again. I wouldn't. Trey Mitchell's got some good post moves, man. He's a guy that if you feed him the rock on the low block, he can get you 2 points. That's the Trey Mitchell that I want to see more of. That's the Trey Mitchell that made him an all-conference player at UMass last year. And, of course, the Big 12 is a step up from UMass. But, we saw it tonight at times. If you feed Trey Mitchell on the block, he can make some things happen. That's where I want him to be working. I don't want him to be standing at the top of the key waiting for somebody to pass him the ball so he can brick a 3. So Trey Mitchell can make threes. He made them last year. He's not making them right now. He shut me up. He shut a lot of us up with that 3 he hit in the final minute, but I'm with you, Seth. I don't want him shooting too many of those. 6 threes, way too many threes for Trey Mitchell. Way too many threes for Trey Mitchell. Free throw shooting in the first half from Trey was awesome, though. I liked getting to the line. He was aggressive. He wasn't getting fouled on threes. He was getting fouled close to the hoop. That's Trey Mitchell I want to see more of. I think he was 8 of 8 from the charity stripe. Trying to update my stats here on my phone. Yeah, 8 of 8 from the free throw line. And all 8 of those came in the first half. That was Texas's spark offensively in the first 20 minutes was Trey Mitchell being aggressive, getting to the 10, and getting to the line. I want more of that from him. A lot of people were mad. The final few minutes, Chris Beard had some interesting rotations, right? Devin Askew was out there for a while. Jace Febris was out there for a while. Andrew Jones was on the bench. Trey Mitchell was on the bench. Trey Mitchell is just not a great defender. A lot of people were clamoring for more Trey, and he came in and hit the biggest shot of the night. So maybe the fans were right. But, yeah, Trey Mitchell doesn't give you a whole lot defensively. And since coming back from COVID a few weeks ago, I just don't think his legs are quite under him just yet. So that's why I think Trey Mitchell was on the bench for some of the final few minutes tonight, despite what some Twitter coaches wanted to see. Jonathan, I think we should win on the road against Oklahoma, at home against TCU, maybe on the road against West Virginia. Yeah, look, Texas has the toughest remaining schedule in college basketball. At least that was the case going into tonight. I'm not positive that still holds true, but if Texas isn't number 1, they're in the top 5 in terms of remaining strength of schedule. I mean, I'm trying to think if they have any easy wins left. I guess, the easiest win that Texas has is home against TCU. Texas demolished the Horny Toads in Fort Worth a couple of weeks ago. So that feels like the most winnable game that Texas has. But yeah, outside of that, you got at Baylor, at Oklahoma, Texas Tech, at West Virginia, and then Baylor at home and Kansas on the road to close out the season. So not a lot of guaranteed wins for the Longhorns the rest of the way. That's why it feels really important to get that one, like that huge resume boosting win, and get it out of the way. So you've got some stuff in the quality wins category. I mean, before the Big 12 SEC Challenge, which was the last game Texas had in January, Texas had 0 quality wins, and now they've got 3. Tennessee is a ranked team competing in the SEC. Iowa State, they've fallen on some tough times, but that's still a quality win. And then obviously Kansas tonight. Like, Texas didn't play a whole lot of tough teams in the non-con, and the tough teams they did play, they lost to Gonzaga and Seton Hall. So they didn't have a lot of quality wins going into this little 5-game stretch that we've talked about. Now they've got 3 of them. Hopefully they can tack on a few more here before it's all said and done. There we go. Thank you, George. Joe Lenardi has Texas as a 4 seed right now. How about that? So I think I might be wrong. Lenardi might have had Texas as a 5 going into tonight. I think he did a bracketology that came out either Friday or Saturday morning before the Iowa State game, and he had Texas as a 6. And I think he tweeted out like a bracketology update after Saturday, and I think he had Texas as a 5. So the win tonight, according to Joe Lenardi, makes Texas a 4 seed. So over the last 2 days, or 3 days, I guess, going back to Saturday, the last 2 games, Texas, according to Joe Lenardi, has gone from a 6 seed to a 4 seed. Not bad. Still a ton of basketball left, but a 4 seed for Texas basketball. Man, people told me last week Chris Beard sucked. I don't understand. How can that be? How can he be so bad at his job and have Texas as a 4 seed in year 1? I don't understand. Somebody's wrong here. Dirk, appreciate you stopping by. Does Andrew Jones have a future in the NBA? I don't know. Andrew Jones has been so hit and miss this year. Like, he was so awesome against Iowa State on Saturday, and then just it wasn't there tonight. And it feels like more often than not, as of late, it hasn't been there for Andrew Jones, who's, trying to fit in this new role as the 6th man for this team. Some nights it's there. Some nights he's the spark, which is what Texas needs, what any team needs coming off the bench. And then some nights it's just not there for Andrew Jones. I mean, he had a wide open look at a 3 with about 5 minutes to go, and he just flat out airballed it. And then Chris Beard took him out of the game, and that was it for Andrew Jones. He didn't come back in. Like, Andrew Jones is not a great defender, so if he's not delivering offensively, then he's not going to get a ton of minutes. Did have 10 points tonight, but 0 of 5 from downtown and some ugly misses, including that air ball I just talked about. So I don't know. I mean, I think Andrew Jones will get an invite to Summer League. Like, I think he can be a G League player who maybe has the chance to crack an NBA roster at some point. I don't think he's going to get drafted, though, or anything like that, Dirk. Hopefully he can prove me wrong. Hopefully he gets really hot down the stretch and helps lead Texas to a successful season and postseason, and somehow finds his way onto an NBA roster in the not too distant future, but he's going to have to work, man. We did play good offense today, Caden. Look, Kansas is not a great defensive team. I think KenPom had them 30th going into tonight, which is not bad. There's 360 teams in Division I college basketball, but Kansas's strength was its offense. And my fear about this game was, could Texas offense well enough to hang with Kansas? I thought if Texas was going to win, it was going to have to be a game played in the 60s. And coming into tonight, Texas was 0-3 in games where their opponent scored more than 70. So once Kansas got there, once the game got there, I was thinking, oh no, does Texas have enough juice offensively to hang with the Jayhawks down the stretch here? And they did. So yeah, they offensed really well. Would love to see more of what we saw tonight going forward. Starts with Timmy Allen. His aggressiveness, his ability to knock down the mid-range jumper was absolutely huge. And just various contributions from various players. Getting to the line was also super important. Texas didn't shoot the lights out. Shot just shy of 42% from the floor. Nothing crazy. Kansas actually shot 58% tonight. Difference was Texas got to the line, made its free throws, and also forced some turnovers that gave them some easier buckets. That was the difference. So, yeah, Texas not a great shooting team. I think we've played enough games to know that at this point. But if they can create some easy buckets, get some points off of turnovers, and get to the free throw line, that's going to be their best chance of being able to score in the 70s and win games like these. So, yeah, an impressive display, one of the most impressive displays of offensive basketball from Chris Beard this season. Whatever I did tonight, I have to do again. Don't jinx it. I will try. I guess I got to eat Taco Bell every time Texas plays. No problem with me, CB. You know that. You know that. Short of going 0 for the rest of the – yeah, I mean, this feels like a tournament team. They're a 4 seed right now, according to Joe Lenardi. Like, you don't have the bubble conversation when you're talking about a 4 seed. So, like, it's not set in stone. Don't put it in Sharpie just yet, Seth Davis. But, like, barring a massive, massive collapse, Texas will have its name called on Selection Sunday, which is good. And I hope to not be stressing about if – I want to be stressing about when Texas plays in the tournament, not if Texas is going to play in the tournament. It's happened way too often over the last 10 years. I just want to be worrying about who, when, and where the Longhorns are playing in the NCAA tournament. Hopefully, by the time Selection Sunday rolls around, that's the only things we're stressing about as Texas basketball fans. Would be nice. All right, there's a lot of you still watching. Keep the comments coming. Keep the questions coming. Appreciate the love, man. 79-76. Once again, Texas gets the win. If you're just joining us, thank you. Please like this video if you haven't yet. Subscribe to this channel, too, if you haven't yet. Quick shout-out to Last Stand Hats, today's video sponsor. You see the discount code scrolling across the bottom of your screen. 10% off if you use BK10 at checkout. Talked about Courtney Ramey's defense. Spectacular against the best player in the Big 12 tonight. Timmy Allen's offense, the key, the spark plug. He was everywhere on both ends for the Longhorns. The crowd, I thought, made a tremendous difference in this game. A lot to like. And even though Texas gave up 76 points and Kansas shot 58%, still a lot to like with the defensive performance, mainly the 15 turnovers that Texas was able to force. And that's 2 games in a row. I don't have the stats in front of me. I guess I could probably find them on TexasSports.com. But not only is Texas creating those turnovers, but they're turning those turnovers into points. That's key. Like, turnovers are great, of course, because you're preventing the other team from scoring. But if you don't do anything with it, they don't feel that great. They don't feel that impactful. Texas, the last 2 games, I know against Iowa State, they took serious advantage of those takeaways. And tonight, upwards of 20 points for sure off of turnovers for Texas. And they forced a turnover on Kansas's last offensive possession of the game. Or last real offensive possession of the game, I guess. When it was a 1-point game. And DeJuan Harris went up, lost it, going up. Great defense by Marcus Carr. Texas came down with the loose ball. Marcus Carr, credit to him. Wasn't a great night for him offensively, but got that big stop, created that turnover, and then hit those 2 free throws to give Texas the 3-point lead and ultimately the 3-point win. And I love the decision by Chris Beard to foul up 3. I hate it when it's not my team doing that because I want to watch the team get a crack at a game-tying 3 in the final seconds. That's just more entertaining from a fan perspective. But when it's my team, I want them to foul up 3. And Chris Beard did that. Jalen Wilson missed his first free throw. Tried to miss his second free throw, but there was a mad scramble, and I think it was Courtney Ramey who just chunked it up. Ball game. Texas gets the win. Zach, were you at the game? Was anyone at the game? Anybody watching this right now? You might still be trying to get out of the garages on campus. But, yeah, it looked like a tremendous crowd tonight. It looked like a full house at the Flan. And that UNC game was nuts with the Javon Felix buzzer beater. That was awesome. That was awesome. Couldn't go to that game. Had some family obligation in Dallas. I'm still mad about that. But that was a spectacular game, a spectacular crowd, and a spectacular win for Texas. All right, what else do I want to talk about, guys? We'll roll for a few more minutes. Still looks like there's upwards of 50 of you in here right now, so thank you for stopping by. How big was the final minute of the first half for the Longhorns? Right, 35 all with about a minute to go in the first half. Andrew Jones hits the jumper, and then Marcus Carr, the crazy running 3 at the buzzer to give Texas the 5-point lead going into recess. That was awesome. Gave Texas some momentum going into the locker room. And look, you win a game by 3, every point matters. That 3 by Marcus Carr at the end of the first half, pretty damn important. That was a hell of a shot, too. Marcus Carr takes some tough-ass shots, and he makes a lot of tough-ass shots too. The degree of difficulty on some of the buckets he's able to get is high. Saw that from him for years at Minnesota. A different role here at Texas. Isn't asked to do as much as he was asked to do in Minnesota, where he just had to be the guy night in and night out. Pretty much had to shoot 20 times a game for the Gophers to have a chance. He has embraced his new role. I want him to be more aggressive. Like, I probably shouldn't be saying that, considering he was 3 of 13 tonight. But I love aggressive Marcus Carr because that dude can get buckets and he can make some tough-ass shots. And that one at the end of the first half was tough. And, of course, those 2 free throws to ice it at the end of the game were massive. Chris, I'm with you. Not a fan of rushing the court, though. I'm sure it was fun to do it, but I don't think Texas should be rushing the floor. I really don't. Doesn't mean it wasn't a big win. Just don't think UT should ever be rushing the floor. Mess with the beard, you get the horns. Thanks, Chris Rothstein. Appreciate you stopping by. Man, John Rothstein is the king of the bit. That guy's got a slogan for every team, for every coach, for everything in college basketball. Did he tweet out the anarchy? Nope, just college basketball tonight. Did we see that from Rothstein? He probably tweeted that out after Virginia beat Duke. And we talked about this. Look, like, this was an opportunity for a Kansas letdown. And I don't think Kansas really had a letdown. I just think Texas was better down the stretch tonight. I don't think Kansas played particularly poorly. They had some bad turnovers, of course. They missed some free throws down the stretch. Like, Kansas's take that they didn't leave with a win. They felt like they let one slip away, and I get that. But, Duke had a letdown spot against Virginia at home after Duke's big win over UNC on Saturday when everybody was watching and College Game Day was there and Coach K's last game at the Dean Dome. Like, obvious potential letdown spot for the Dukies. They lost tonight. Kansas, obvious potential letdown spot after what they did to Baylor with the whole world watching on Saturday. I don't really think they played super poorly. I just think Texas was the better team tonight. I really do. All right, we'll go to 11:15, guys. I'm afraid to look at my hat here. Not great. It's about 7 minutes. So any comments, questions, thoughts, whatever is on your mind. We'll go for another 7 minutes or so. Once again, Texas at Baylor this Saturday morning, 11 a.m. on the Deuce. Baylor, I expect, will be favored in that game. Baylor tied for second in the Big 12. They play at K-State on Wednesday. So Texas will have a couple of more days of rest going into this one, but I don't know how much of a factor that's going to be. Baylor will still have a couple of days off in between their next game and the game against the Longhorns. Assume Baylor's going to bounce back and beat K-State, who's the worst team in this conference. I guess they're not. They're 4-6 in Big 12 play. And West Virginia's 2-7. West Virginia's bad, man. West Virginia's not in a good spot right now. I'm still terrified when Texas goes to Morgantown here in a couple of weeks. But Bob Huggins, Huggy Bear, they've lost 7 in a row. Don't see that too often from a Bob Huggins coach team. So, yeah, K-State actually 6th right now in the conference. Not giving them enough credit. I still think Baylor's going to win that game. In the Little Apple. Sark was in the building. I didn't see that. Hopefully he was taking notes. Yeah, on how to beat Kansas. Yeah. Chris Beard has a bigger win under his belt in year one than Sark did in his year one. That's for damn sure. That is for damn sure. West Virginia did play Tech pretty well. Yeah, they did. And that was without Taz Sherman, who is West Virginia's best player. He was out with a concussion that he suffered in West Virginia's game against Baylor. West Virginia almost beat Baylor last week. Then they almost beat Texas Tech over the weekend. So they've lost 7 in a row, but they're no pushover. And winning at WVU Coliseum is never easy. Never, ever easy. So I think if Taz Sherman plays against Texas Tech, West Virginia might spring the upset. They played pretty well. They just kind of ran out of steam down the stretch. Of course, we'll never know. But Taz Sherman will be good to go by the time Texas comes around. I assume he'll be back for the Mountaineers. Taz Sherman did not play in Austin when Texas beat West Virginia. That was a little bit of a gift for the Horns. I don't think Texas is going to get that lucky the second time around against the Mountaineers. Is Texas a top 5 team? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But they showed you tonight that if they play well, they can hang with just about anybody in college basketball because Kansas is really freaking good. A lot of people left Kansas for dead after that Kentucky game, but the Jayhawks can still play, man. They can absolutely play. Like, that's a team that has Final Four potential. I don't know if I'd pick them to make the Final Four right now, but like they've got that type of potential. So if Texas plays the way that they played tonight, they can hang with most teams in college basketball, but does that mean they're a top 5 team? No. To be a top 5 team, you've got to be better than 2-5 away from home. Texas has been awesome at home, 15-1 at the Erwin Center. That's great. But to be a Final Four type of team, to be in the top 5 conversation, you've got to be able to win outside of your home gym, and Texas has not proven the ability to do that. If they go beat Baylor this Saturday, might have a different answer to that question. But no, Texas is not a top 5 team right now. They are a top 20 team. Notice that even if they lost today. Even if Texas loses to Baylor on Saturday, I think Texas is probably going to move up in the rankings next week. Like Texas lost to Texas Tech last week and still moved up a couple of spots in the AP poll because they beat Iowa State. I think because Texas beat Kansas, regardless of what happens on Saturday. I mean, if they lose by 30 or 40, knock on wood, then okay, they might go down. But I think Texas will be a little bit higher than 20 in next Monday's AP poll. What's my Final Four? Man, it's early, Jonathan. Too early to tell. I like Gonzaga a lot, of course. Everybody does. They're awesome. Who else do I like? I mean, I think Duke. I know they lost tonight. They've got a shot to make a deep run. They've got a ton of talent. I probably should be more bought into Auburn than I actually am. They've had a couple of scares lately. They keep finding ways to win, including beating Georgia, who sucks, but they found a way to win. So I probably should be higher on Auburn than I actually am. Purdue's legit. Don't sleep on the Boilermakers. So I'm giving you a bunch of teams. I'm not doing what you asked me to do at all. Right now, February 7th, I'll say Gonzaga. I'll say Kentucky. I'm looking at the rankings right now just to make sure I'm not missing anybody. I want to say Houston. They're awesome, but without Marcus Sasser and Tremont Mark, I don't know if I can put them there. I mean, they're not losing at all, but the American sucks this year. So like when they actually have to play real competition again, I just don't know if they have the dudes to hang with some of the best teams in the country. How many have I given to? Doing a great job at this, clearly. Trying to think of more of a wild card. I'm not going to put Purdue in there because they always come up short in March. I'll give UCLA, even though they lost twice this past week. I still really like them. And a wild card, Villanova. I don't know if you can call Villanova a wild card since they've won 2 titles in like the last 6 years, but they're number 15 in the country. It doesn't feel like a normal Villanova year, but I trust Jay Wright in the tournament. So that was the longest answer of all time, Jonathan. Hope that helps. And that's obviously subject to change every day between now and the time I have to turn in my bracket before that Thursday, the first day of the NCAA tournament. Yeah, I'm with you, Chris. Texas made 3 threes tonight and still scored 79 points. It's because they got to the line and it's because they took advantage of the turnovers they created. Not a good recipe for success, shooting 15% from beyond the arc. 3-point shooting has been a problem for Texas this year, not only this year, like the last few years. And, tonight didn't ease any of my concerns about this team's ability to knock down threes. But it was cool to see them find a win. Like sometimes you're going to have off nights in the tournament. Can you find ways to win when the shots aren't going down? Texas did that against a really good team tonight. Showed me a lot. How far does Texas have to go this year for this season to be successful? Sweet 16. No, that's kind of what I was feeling before the season, Ryan. Like, look, Texas hasn't won a tournament game in years, 8 years. So it would just feel like any tournament win would be a step in the right direction. But to call it a successful season, considering this was a top 5 team going into the year, considering all the things that Chris Beard had to say, I think second weekend, which is Sweet 16, would make this year feel like a successful season. Like at that point, I think Texas would be playing with house money if they get to the Sweet 16. So I'd love to see them just win a tournament game for the first time in forever. But yeah, if they can win 2 tournament games and make it to weekend 2, then I'd call that a success. Absolutely. What was it, 2014? Is that 8 years? I guess 8 years now for Texas's last tournament win. I don't know. Let me know. What do y'all think? I want to hear from you guys. What would constitute a successful season for Chris Beard in year 1? Is it Sweet 16? Is it 1 tournament win? I can't imagine it's just making it to the tournament for anybody in here. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully your expectations are higher than that. They should be. Based on all the trash people were talking about Chris Beard last week, I think they are higher than that. But what do you guys think? What's a successful year 1 for Chris Beard? Thoughts on Arterio Morris? Excited about him. He's the type of athlete that Texas just doesn't have right now. Texas's top-ranked recruits for the class of 2022. Can't wait to see him get to Austin and see what he does when he gets to Austin. It's going to be a completely new roster next year too, guys. I don't want to start talking about next year because it feels like there's reasons to be excited about this year. But, I mean, Chris Beard had to get 7 transfers this offseason. A lot of those guys are seniors. You saw the graphic they showed on ESPN tonight that the average age of a Texas player is 22. The Longhorns are almost older than the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's a crazy stat. I knew Texas was old. I knew OKC was young. I didn't realize it was that close. The average age difference between UT and OKC. That was a wild stat. But yeah, a lot of the transfers that Texas got are guys who are only going to be here for 1 season. So Chris Beard's got 3 guys committed in the class of 2022, recruit-wise, and I assume he's going to attack the portal once again, which he did really well last year and has done pretty well with that over the course of his entire coaching career. So excited about next year's team, excited about Arterio Morris, but yeah, I'm not ready to not be excited about this year's team. Appreciate you stopping by, Moses. I know you were a big fan of the show in Austin, so I appreciate you hopping on YouTube, hanging out for a few minutes. All is well down here, man. Hope all is well for you up there. I'm hoping to be in the building when Texas Tech comes to town in a couple of weeks. You guys are going to get mad at me, though, if I go and Texas loses, and you should be, because recently my teams have not fared well in the game I have attended. I've been bad luck. I've got bad juju to arenas and stadiums the last few times I've been, so maybe I should take one for the team and just not go to that game against the Red Raiders. All right, I said 11:15. It's 11:18, so I'll go for a couple more minutes because the comments have been good. Victor, I think Texas played IK if I'm crazy. I mean, they didn't play a perfect game, but Kansas is really good. You take any win over Kansas. You take any win over a top 10 team. Not always going to be perfect. I thought Texas offensively looked better tonight than they have for the majority of the season. I know they were 3 of 20 from deep, but still their aggressiveness, their ability to get to the free throw line, getting some easy buckets in transition. I know I've said those things a lot, but like that's what I want to see from Texas, because this half-court offense isn't great. I think that's obvious at this point in the season. So if you can make life easier for yourself by getting free points in transition and free points at the charity stripe, take advantage of that. So was it perfect tonight, Victor? No, but I won't complain about a win over a top 10 team. It was beautiful. I thought it was beautiful. Yeah, Thomas, you might be right. I've gone to the UT Texas Tech game the last few years in Austin, and there have been a ton of Tech fans in attendance for those. That was obviously before Chris Beard left Lubbock to come to Austin. So, yeah, there were reports about Tech fans getting the pre-sale code to buy all the UT basketball tickets for that game on February 19th. Tech fans bragging about it. I'm like, congrats, you bought tickets to watch a basketball game at the Erwin Center. Not very hard to do. But yeah, there will be a lot of Tech fans. I mean, last year was like 50-50. Once again, that was pre-Chris Beard departure. So I am worried about the number of Texas Tech fans that will be at the Erwin Center. I mean, it's not like they have to travel. Most of them live in Austin. There's so many Tech fans in Austin. It's insane. Chris Beard, I've said it a lot. Chris Beard did what most Texas Tech grads do. They hang out in Lubbock for 5 years, and then they move to Austin. That's what he did. Nobody wants to stay in Lubbock. There's a reason people leave as soon as they graduate, if they graduate. It was a good crowd. Thomas, it sounds like you're a Tech fan, man. Yeah, good crowd tonight. Should be a good crowd when your Red Raiders come to town, too. Nothing will be like the crowd at United Supermarkets Arena last Tuesday. That shit was nuts, man. Oh, my God. I wish I was there. If that game was on a weekend, I would have been there for sure. Could have pulled the media card and gone with my buddy Joe Cook of Inside Texas, who was there, but like I would have had to taken off 2 days of work to do that. And like, I don't want to say thankfully Texas lost. I would have obviously preferred a Texas win, but like that would have been a tough drive home and a tough use of 2 PTO days to watch Texas lose the way that they did in Lubbock. But that crowd looked amazing. I've been to Allen Fieldhouse a few times. I've been to some great arenas in my time. I don't know if anything would have measured up to that night at the USA. That was freaking awesome, man. Unfortunately, the game, not so awesome, at least from my perspective. Still a lot of y'all in here, man. We can keep going for a little bit if y'all have questions. I'm checking Twitter just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, my man, Fanatic Perspective, a.k.a. Steven. I guess it's Steven, a.k.a. Fanatic Perspective, is doing a Twitter Spaces right now, so might pop on that here in a few minutes. I'll definitely check that out if you can. Subscribe to this channel, too, if you can. Appreciate the love, guys. Talk all things Texas Longhorns on here. Also talk all things Houston sports on here as well. I've got a couple of playlists on my channel, though, so it's easy to find what's UT and what's Houston. I've never been to Cameron Indoor, Vicente. It's a bucket list thing for sure. My roommate is actually a Duke fan. His mom went there, and he's a diehard Duke fan. And we've been like talking about trying to go to a game this year, but ticket prices are absurd, of course, because of Coach K's last year. I mean, it's always tough to catch a game at Cameron Indoor. It's just so small. But obviously, with this being K's final season, it's damn near impossible to get to a game there. So haven't been, need to. It'll happen at some point. I was hoping it'd be this year because that'd be spectacular, but I'll probably have to wait for at least another year or two. How about that? Someone on Twitter saying tonight was the best home atmosphere since AC Law and Kevin Durant, UT and A&M back in 2007. Wow. High praise. Looked like a great crowd tonight. I mean, look, whenever Kansas comes to town, the Erwin Center gets pretty close to full, if not completely full. But Chris Beard has people excited, man. He has people bought in. And that win over Iowa State on Saturday, I think, was important. I think to just provide a little bit of extra juice and a little bit of extra confidence with his fan base. So, man, Chris Beard's made it a point of emphasis since day one to make sure the crowd is involved and invested and in attendance. And more often than not, that's been the case this season. Can't wait to see what the Moody Center is like next year, especially if Texas has a successful close to this year. It's going to be special next season. But yeah, Chris Beard, tip of the cap, man. He has done whatever he can. He's gone out of his way to get people at the Erwin Center this year. They had all the foam finger hook'ems on the seats tonight. And Chris Beard's giving away Whataburger and all sorts of food and random trinkets throughout the course of the season. So he knows how important. He saw it in Lubbock. I mean, it's not like Tech basketball fans were super passionate or invested before he got there. But now Texas Tech is one of the best home court advantages in the country. They haven't lost at home this season. And while Chris Beard was there, they were one of the toughest teams to beat in Lubbock. He built that crowd. He made it a point of emphasis when he took the job there, too. He called out to the students, to the alumni, to everybody to show up and show out. It worked in Lubbock. So far, it seems like it's working in Austin. Of course, it helps when the team plays well. That was a double overtime game, wasn't it, CB? Probably looked that up. In 2007, the Durant Law game. I think that's what you're talking about. No, Texas OU, Trae Young, Mo Bamba year was epic. Yeah. No, there's been some very good atmospheres. I don't know. Because Texas won, maybe this was the best atmosphere since 07. But in the Carolina game, somebody brought that up earlier. There's been a few in the mix, I think, in terms of great atmospheres at the Erwin Center over the last 10, 15 years. But love that people are talking about how great of an environment it was tonight. Hasn't always been the case. All right, now we're going to 11:30, so we've got 4 minutes left. Giving y'all overtime tonight. Not even getting paid for this. Come on, man. We'll go 4 more minutes. Any final thoughts, questions, whatever y'all got for me, fire away. Yes, absolutely, Caden. Courtney Ramey's defense, unbelievable tonight. Paramount in Texas's win. Ochai Agbaji is the best player in the Big 12. And to keep him to 11 points, he really had 9 until the final minute. He had that tip in, which I was worried was the dagger for Kansas. I mean, they made it a 4-point game with a minute to go. I thought that might have been it. But outside of that, Ochai Agbaji had nothing. No clean looks. He barely touched the ball. I mean, Courtney Ramey was in his jersey tonight. Spectacular defense. It's not going to show up in the box score tomorrow, but, man, he is a big reason why Texas left the Erwin Center with a dub tonight. Massive dub. Shout out to Courtney Ramey. Once again, Texas a 4 seed, according to Joe Lenardi, in the NCAA tournament. Don't take what I'm about to say as a prediction, but I saw a tweet tonight that said we are 8 weeks away from the national championship game. That Monday night game that Chris Beard talked about a lot during his introductory press conference, 8 weeks from today. Do I think Texas is going to be there? No, I don't. But getting closer and closer. In the home stretch for the regular season. Count how many games Texas has left. 7 games left for Texas in the regular season. In the conference tournament, and the NCAA tournament. I agree 100%, Michael. Talked about this a little bit earlier. We've been going for close to an hour, so damn. Appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate the comment. Yeah, Trey Mitchell needs to be utilized down low more often. 6 threes, way too many 3-point attempts for Trey Mitchell. I know he made the last one. It was the biggest shot of the night for Texas. I don't know how the hell that thing went in. I still have no idea how the hell that thing went in. But in the first half, Trey Mitchell got to the free throw line 8 times. He was 8 of 8. He was aggressive. Texas was forcing him the ball in the low block. That's where he's at his best. Trey Mitchell was open on a lot of those 6 threes for a reason. Kansas wanted him shooting those. And it was a smart strategy for Kansas for most of the night. He was 0 for 5 before that last one somehow went down. So, yeah, Trey Mitchell needs to be spending more time in post than behind the 3-point line. I hope Chris Beard has that conversation. Hopefully he already has had that conversation with Trey Mitchell a time or two this season. Hopefully he has it again after tonight. Can always believe. It's a good mindset, Ted Lasso. Believe. I think Texas going back-to-back Big 12 titles. Texas did not win the Big 12 title last year. They won the Big 12 tournament title a season ago. Big difference. Sure, I guess. I don't think Texas is going to win the Big 12 title, the regular season title, which is the more important one. The Longhorns still have a chance. They're not mathematically eliminated. Tonight obviously helps. Right now, Texas is just a game and a half behind Kansas for first place in the league. They still have another game against Baylor. They still have another game against Texas Tech. Actually, they have 2 games against Baylor. Another game against Tech, another game against Kansas. So they've got opportunities against the teams ahead of them in the conference standings right now. So do I think Texas is going to win the Big 12 regular season title this year? No. Can they win? Sure. Can they win the tournament title again? Sure. I don't think they're going to get a bye week or a bye round like they got last year with the Kansas COVID issue. So that'll make things a little bit tougher. But I guess they've got a shot. It's going to be tough. I know Texas beat Kansas tonight, guys, but I still think Texas is the 4th best team in the Big 12. Like neutral site, I would pick Kansas. I would pick Texas Tech. I would pick Baylor to beat Texas at the moment. Those are the 3 teams ahead of Texas in the conference standings right now. But we saw it this evening. Like Texas can beat Kansas, who's first place in this league. So do they have a shot? Sure. Am I predicting it? Would I put money on it? No. All right, last question before we get out of here from Thomas. 4 away, 3 at home, still 2 against Baylor and 1 against Kansas. What do I expect the record to be in the final 7? Good question. I will chalk up TCU at home as a win. I'll be optimistic. I think this is being optimistic and say they'll split with Baylor. So that's 2-1. I think they'll lose at Kansas. That's 2-2. I think they'll lose one of Oklahoma, at West Virginia. So we'll call that a split. That's 3-3. And then Texas Tech at home. That's the only one I haven't picked yet. I'll be optimistic. I'll say that's a win for the Longhorns. So I'll say 4-3. I'll say Texas goes 4-3 down the stretch. They lose at Baylor. They lose at Kansas. They lose one of at Oklahoma or at West Virginia, and they win the others. I'd be pretty satisfied with that. 3-4 would be fine. You'd love to get to 4-3. 3-4 would be fine. I don't think you're worried about tournament stuff unless you go 2-5. I don't even know at that point you're worried too much about tournament stuff. Because 2-5 would put you at 9-9 in conference play. You'd be in if you go 2-5 down the stretch. You don't want to. I don't want to speak that into existence, of course, but we talked about it before the season started, or at least before conference play started. 8-10 probably gets you into the tournament, considering how good this Big 12 is. 9-9, I think you're good. Anything better than that, you're safe. You beat Kansas at home, you're now 7-4. You want to finish better than 9-9. That probably goes without saying. So, yeah, if you can get 3 or 4 more, if you can get a winning record in conference play, then sitting pretty. Sitting pretty. All right, I lied. Last question, Marco. Happy overall with where they are at this point in the season? Yeah, I would. And what would I consider a good finish for the season? 4-3. We'll see that in Sweet 16. I'd call that a successful season. I'd love just a tournament win, but getting to the Sweet 16, which means 2 tournament wins, would feel like a very good finish to the season for Texas. All right, guys, that's going to do it. I'm out of here. I got to go to bed. Thank you all for watching. Big time win for the Longhorns tonight, 79-76. The Longhorns upsets the 8th-ranked Kansas Jayhawks. Big time win for Texas. The Longhorns now 15-1 at home this season. Up next for UT, a trip to Waco, everyone's favorite city, to take on the 10th-ranked Baylor Bears. It doesn't get any easier for Texas, but a big win over Kansas. Texas now 3-1 in this 5-game stretch against ranked opponents. Impressive. Biggest win of the Chris Beard era. Hopefully there are more big wins to come this year and beyond. But to this point, the biggest win for Chris Beard in Austin. Thank y'all for watching. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet. Like this video if you'd be so kind. Really do appreciate all the continued love and supports. Until next time, y'all stay safe. Y'all stay healthy. And hook 'em.